Hi, my name's Erica. I'm a student doing my master's in Occupational Therapy at University of Montreal. I'm inviting you today to listen to the short video that I've called The Key to OT. So ever since I started university in Occupational Therapy, my family and friends have been asking me, what are you studying? What's OT? And honestly, that's a question that I couldn't even answer myself at the beginning. But with experience with my studies, this is the best I can do for you today. This shows us that occupational therapy, although it's taking a bigger place in our society, it is still very well unknown. As a matter of fact, in Canada in 2011, there were 13,501 occupational therapists that were practicing and that were subscribed to the Canadian Association of Occupational Therapy. Wow, how amazing! That's an increase of 14.6% since 2006. Okay. So now let's get right into the subject. What is OT? That's probably a question you guys are all asking yourself. We often hear in our society, actually my parents and my family have told me this many times, an occupational therapist is someone who installs support bars in a bathroom or around a toilet. No, that's not all we are. An occupational therapist is a healthcare professional whose general mandate is to participate in solving problems that make people's life activities difficult to manage in their natural environment. Okay. Enough of this complicated stuff. Let's just go with something a little bit more simple. Basically, the OT is gonna intervene principally in three different spheres. There is, first of all, the person's environment, and his or her occupations. Let's go more into details now. Let's consider the person. The person is a being that has physical, cognitive, and affective capacities. We have to consider each client individually because he has his own values, his own culture, and his own beliefs that are going to affect us in our decision making and in the client's evolution. Now for the environment. The environment is not only a physical space, it's where the person evolves. For example, where the person works, the hospital where the person is treated, or the gym where he or her trains. To this, it's important to add the social environment, which is composed of people that have an impact on the person's life. Then again, these are elements that have an extremely important impact on our interventions. Now let's look at the sphere occupation. Each of us has many different occupations that are essential to our health and well-being. They give a meaning to our life. Occupations refer to activities that a person does in her everyday life. So it's not just limited to his or her professional career. For example, a teacher is going to have as occupations to teach, to do the groceries, to manage a budget, and to practice badminton, for example. Occupation is what defines the specificity of the OT because the OT is considered as the expert of occupation. In other words, the OT is going to consider a person participating in meaningful occupations and evolving in an environment. So, this is where the occupational therapist intervenes. By considering all these elements, it's going to allow the OT to offer to the client services adapted to his own life context. Before I was saying that the OT was a healthcare professional, but more precisely, he's a rehabilitation professional, which means that he's actually present in every step of the person's rehab. The OT process involves assessment, intervention, and evaluation related to occupational performance in spheres like self-care, work, study, volunteering, and leisure. So the OT is going to intervene until the objectives have been achieved. No matter what the problem is, it's very possible that we are not able to go get a perfect recovery. In this case, the OT is going to try to find creative ways to compensate for these incapacities. And this in order to make sure that the person is functional in his or her everyday life. So if we go a little bit back in time, I was talking about objectives to achieve. In doing so, the OT is going to have to make sure to build the intervention plan with the objectives that the client wants to achieve. He's going to place the client in the center of the process because we all know that the client is the expert of his situation. It's nice to hear about what the OT theoretically does, but let's get to who he does this with. OT is a very diverse profession that can intervene in mental health as well as in physical health with patients in any age group. Here are a few concrete examples. For instance, for a child with poor fine motor skills, the OT can assign, for example, a pencil adapter to facilitate the child's grip and develop his writing skills. For a teenager who's amputated after a sports accident, OT can train the client to use his prosthesis in his everyday activities. For a young adult with schizophrenia, OT can work on social behaviors to encourage and promote social integration. Another example is for an adult with multiple sclerosis, the OT can help the family to find resources in the community, for example, support groups. Finally, for an elderly person with a loss of autonomy due to Parkinson's disease, OT can assign a wheelchair and adapt the client's environment for the person to be functional in his everyday life. These were just a few examples to show you the diversity of the occupational therapist's role. But you can imagine it goes way beyond these few examples. Furthermore, OTs can work in a wide range of environments. For example, in community agencies, healthcare organizations such as hospitals, chronic care facilities, rehabilitation centers, schools, social agencies, or they can be self-employed. So folks, that's it for my talking today. I hope this helped you have an idea of what occupational therapy actually is. It's normal though that you're still questioning yourself and that you're still a little bit confused because OT is actually a complicated profession. If you have further questions or want to learn more, I invite you to visit the site caot.ca or otworks.ca. Thanks for your attention. Bye.